people who haven't been in the program yet but were interested and came and walked as far as they could, and it was a great day. So keep your eyes out. They'll announce that next year. How many of you are less than 6 months out from surgery? Okay, a few of you. How many of you are less than a year out from surgery? Well, no, I should say between 6 months and a year. And then how many of you are over a year out? Okay, good. Because one of the things that anybody who's far out will tell you, and Cindy, she's been here since I've been here for 8 years, so they will all tell you that at some point you're going to regain some weight. That just comes with the program. But you want to guard against that, and you want to get back on track if that happens. And so that's why we're going to talk about this. And it doesn't mean you're going to regain all your weight. That's not what this is about. It's about relearning how to use your surgery. So stop me if you have any questions. So I know you've all heard your surgery is a tool. How many of you, now that you've had surgery, think of that sentence the same way you thought of it when you heard it the first time you heard it in class? Okay? Does it mean something completely different to you now? Okay. It's hard to convey that to somebody new, exactly what this is a tool means. But as Carol and I were just talking about, if you buy any tool, whether it's a mechanical tool or a KitchenAid mixer or whatever, if you don't follow the directions, it doesn't work the way you expect it to, and that's what we mean by this as a tool, okay? And so the directions that come with it, in fact, those books that you all receive when you first start the program that have all the guidelines, those are really important, and that's why we tell you to hang on to those books and go back and review those periodically, because there's no way that life doesn't have change and stress and things that happen that can cause you to fall back into old habits. And it takes 2 to 3 years of doing and following those guidelines for those to become your new habits. People don't change easily. Change isn't one of those things that any of us does very well. But so you have to allow yourself time to change and just keep reminding yourself of what those guidelines are. So the surgery is the tool, but the care of that tool is your responsibility, okay? And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is getting reacquainted with your tool so that you can continue to use it effectively. Kay Bailey has written a lot of books. She's a weight loss patient from the 90s, and she's written a lot of books about her journey. And one of the things she says is, you know, it's funny how the mind works. The healthier we become, the less we remember how truly sick we were before the surgery and before our weight loss. And that's really true. As you're losing that weight and you're feeling good, you forget what brought you to that surgery. And so you want to kind of go back and remember, what couldn't I do that I can do now? Before my surgery, what brought me to this point? What health issues did I have? What medications was I on? And kind of revisit that state of mind when you first had the surgery to prepare yourself for going through a Back on Track program. And the first thing, I know nobody likes the word obesity, but it's the only word out there, so that's what I'm going to use. You are not the disease. You have a disease, okay? And you have to treat it like one, okay? If you had diabetes, you would take insulin. If you had an infection, you would take antibiotics. If you have high blood pressure, you would treat it with medication or whatever the cause of the blood pressure was. And obesity is the same way. You have to treat it as a disease. And weight loss puts that disease into remission, but weight gain causes a relapse of the disease. So if you kind of think of it in that terms, that's why you really want to avoid weight gain. You don't want to see your disease relapse. You don't want it to come back along with all the other comorbidities that come with it. So kind of think of it in those terms, because that's how we think of it. That's how people in healthcare that work with obesity think of it. It is a disease. It's not a reflection of an individual person. It is a disease. It's not a matter of willpower. It's not a matter of eating too much and not exercising. It's a disease. And so we know that the most effective tool we have for treating the disease is bariatric surgery, which is why we do this. So just like with any disease, if you don't continue to take that medication, if you're diabetic and you don't take your insulin, you're going to get into some serious trouble. And so think of your disease in the same way. You simply need to follow the guidelines in order to keep it in remission. So as this says, if the behavior doesn't change, the result will not change. You can't have the surgery and continue to eat the way you did. That just doesn't work. It's not going to get you where you want to be. Yes, the surgery is going to help you get that weight loss off, but there are certain rules that come with it in regards to what you eat, how you eat, your activity, etc. So I want you to think about getting prepared for your surgery. You need to kind of get your mind around it. So I don't want you to just go home and say, okay, I'm going to start this. I want you to think about it, and just as you had a diet progression after surgery, you're going to have a diet progression with this too, but it's only going to be a 5-day diet progression. So it's a lot more doable, a lot easier to manage. And one of the things I want you to do is to pick a date. Pick a date that allows you to follow it without disrupting it. You don't want to start a couple of days and then something comes up and you can't do it. Pick a date when there isn't a lot going on. Pick a date when there aren't a lot of hormonal cycles going on, where you can kind of get the bad stuff that you know you shouldn't be eating out of your house and follow this without any disruption. You also want to work on your accountability, and one of the best ways to be accountable is to become a support to someone else. So find somebody to do this with you. Find an accountability partner so that you can hold each other accountable and check in with each other and support each other through it. And I want you to start by preparing and planning your meals for all 5 days. Do your grocery shopping before you start, and don't go to the grocery store while you're doing this. And get yourself ready. Get yourself in a good state of mind. There's all kinds of ways that people do that. Some people meditate, some people do yoga, some people journal. But be kind to yourself as well. So get yourself into a good state of mind to do this before you start it. And the goal with this 5-day back on track is not weight loss, okay? The goal is to help you to feel that tool again and relearn how to use it. Now, if you're under 6 months out, this may not make any sense to you because you may still be working on being able to eat more than you can. But at some point when you're eating more normally and you find yourself up a little bit, you can go back to this tool and use it to help you get back on track. Your goal is not to eat until you feel stuffed. I always think of Thanksgiving, you know, you eat until you're just miserable, okay? That is not the goal. And I know that some people, if you eat really fast, that's exactly how they feel. About 20, 30 minutes later, they're feeling like, oh, I shouldn't have had that last bite. Your goal is to stop before then. Your goal isn't to feel restriction, your goal is to feel satisfied. And there's a difference, and what this 5 days does is help you to learn that difference, okay? So, days 1 and 2 are healing days, because if you start to regain weight, it causes inflammation, and it causes inflammation in your sleeve or your pouch. And so we want to allow that stomach to kind of heal a little bit. A lot of people will say to me, you know, it still really hurts when I eat. Well, that's because they're eating too much and they're eating too fast, and it causes that inflammation. So we want to start back by getting your stomach into good shape first and foremost. So what we're going to do is clear out your cravings for carbohydrates, because taking carbohydrates or increasing your carbs is one of the biggest reasons people regain weight. Okay, you're going to be on 1 day of sugar-free clear liquids. Remember those days? You'll do 1 day of those, and then 1 day of full liquids, which will include a protein shake as well. So this period here where we're clearing those carbs out is kind of similar to your pre-op diet, where you drank nothing but protein shakes and drank clear liquids, sugar-free clear liquids, and you felt kind of hangry. This is similar to that, but not nearly as severe. So, and we're going to teach you to eat differently during these 5 days. You're not going to eat 3 meals a day, okay? This is going to be different than what you have learned. You will go back to that starting on day 6. So, here are the rules. You can have as many liquid meals as you need in response to hunger, okay? Not in response to boredom, but in response to hunger. And a meal consists of 1 cup of soup or 1 protein shake. And I expect you to measure. So get some measures out and use those. Use your measuring cups. You will eat as quickly as you want for 15 minutes, and then anything you have not finished at 15 minutes, you discard, okay? So you can eat as much as you can get in of these full liquids or clear liquids for these 2 days, and after 15 minutes, you're done, okay? I do want you to wait after you drink a meal for 30 minutes before you drink any other fluids, and you have to wait at least an hour before you can have another meal. But you can have as many meals as you want, okay? The key is to think about and notice how your stomach feels during this period of time. So if you eat 5 meals a day, say you drink, day 1 you're just drinking liquids, so it really doesn't make any difference. But day 2, when you start the full liquids, you can have, say you have a protein shake, and then later in the day, maybe you have that at 8 in the morning, and then at 9 o'clock, you feel hungry. Then you can have a bowl of some soup. And then if you feel hungry in another hour, you can have something else. There's going to come a point where you're not going to want anything else, that you're going to feel satisfied, okay? I don't want you to continue that until you feel stuffed. I want you to simply notice at the end of the hour, do you feel satisfied? And if you do, and you're not really hungry, then wait until you start to feel hungry before you have another meal. Okay? That's a little confusing because that's not how we teach you to eat. But does that make sense to anybody? Do you all understand that? Okay. Now, one of the things that people who are cutting carbs out of their diet, which is basically sugar, I mean, let's face it, all your simple carbs, I should not say all carbs, but all your simple carbs immediately turn to sugar the minute they hit your mouth. So think of that as your white bread, your white rice, your cookies, cakes, candies, things like that. Those are the simple carbs that are just putting sugar into your system, okay? The number one inflammatory product you can take in is sugar. So we're going to cut the sugar out, and that may make you feel a little of that carb withdrawal. And there's two things that are very helpful during that period of time. One is ginger herbal tea, which I drink just anytime my stomach is upset. Ginger tea is the best thing you can drink. It's great. Herbal green tea is also wonderful. It stops those same carb cravings. And Emergency, which you can pick up in the drugstore, also works. It's got a lot of vitamins and minerals in it and helps very much with that carb withdrawal that some people experience. Okay? So you can use that. But I really want you to pay attention to how your stomach feels when you eat. I want you to really pay attention to what does it feel like when I think I'm hungry and when am I really hungry? And then how do you feel after that 15 minutes, and further down the road? Do you feel, at 30 minutes to an hour out, do you feel satisfied? So pay attention during these first 2 days to your stomach. Then day 3, you're going to start eating pureed food or very soft protein. Things like canned fish like tuna fish, deli meats, soft fish, eggs, yogurt, cottage cheese. Notice your amounts, and again, you're going to measure those. No fruit, okay? Fruit is full of fructose, and it's not going to do you any good. That is just another kind of sugar, okay? I know we grow up hearing that fruits are good for you, but not when you're trying to lose weight. So, and not when you're trying to eat after bariatric surgery. So again, a meal is 1 cup in volume or 4 to 6 ounces in weight. And then only eat what you can eat in that first 15 minutes and then discard the rest. Eat only on a dry stomach. So no drinking 30 minutes before with your meal or 30 minutes after, which is typical of what you do now. And then wait at least an hour before deciding you're hungry and need another meal, okay? You're only going to eat until you feel satisfied, not stuffed. So what I want you to start learning is, when do I stop before that point? What is the point at which, what does my stomach feel like right before I feel stuffed, before I feel uncomfortable, okay? So you will start to feel a little bit of that restriction. I don't want you to feel a lot of restriction. I just want you to be aware of when you're right before that point that you feel stuffed, but you're satisfied. Day 4, you're going to go to a soft, low-fiber protein diet. So ground meat, meatballs, meatloaf, fish. You can add in things like shrimp, halibut, salmon, a little firmer fish. Veggie burgers are fine. Tofu is fine. Any of those things are fine. Again, you want to continue to measure your portions. It continues to be 1 cup in volume or 4 to 6 ounces in weight. And if you feel any discomfort in your stomach, that is your signal to stop. So again, you're paying attention to how does your stomach feel, okay? any discomfort of any kind, I want you to stop eating. And then wait at least an hour before your next meal. Okay? You may only be able to eat a few bites of food before you feel that, which is very much like it was right after you had surgery. And this is kind of taking you back to how that all felt. And that feeling is what tells you your tool is still working. A lot of people think, you know, if they're eating too much on a regular basis, I've stretched it out, I've broken the tool or whatever. You really can't, okay? You can, if you reset yourself, when you get to that point, you'll find that the tool actually still works. You just have to go back and find that place where you're satisfied without feeling discomfort or feeling stuffed, okay? And then day 5, you're going to add back in your solid protein, poultry, beef, pork, and a few soft veggies. No corn, no potatoes, no starchy things like that. The best way, I know some people still struggle with meats, but what you really need to do is to tenderize your meat, either by literally pounding it and tenderizing it, marinating it, which breaks down those protein fibers, or throw it in a slow cooker until it's just fallen apart. And those are the easiest ways to get that. I know my daughter got an air fryer this year, and she said she can throw chicken in there, and with just a little spray of some cooking spray, and throw it in there, and it comes out browned and so moist. So find some way to cook that keeps that meat moist, because what makes it hard to eat is when it's really dry, because you don't make as much gastric acid and gastric juices as you did before surgery. So protein can be a little harder to digest, so you need to help it along. Put things in wine. It's a wonderful way to marinate food. And anytime you put something like in citrus, lemon or orange or lime, it's going to actually break down those fibers. That's what ceviche is you simply take thin slices of fish and you cook it by putting it in the lemon or the lime juice and letting it cook just with that alone. So there's lots of ways that you can tenderize your meat to make it easier for you. Again, eat only on a dry stomach and eat only what you can in 15 minutes and then get rid of the rest of it. And then stop eating when you begin to feel any tightness or discomfort, and then wait at least an hour before having another meal. Okay? And that's it. Then you're at day 6, and you're finished with this reset. And you can now go back to eating your 3 meals a day. No drinking before, during, and after a meal. And stop eating when you feel satisfied. When you feel that sensation that you should have now relearned, stop eating so that you don't overeat. Always start with protein first. A lot of people use a sweet salt. Oh, if I have something sweet, I have to have something salty after it. You don't need to do that. Just cut that out. Drink lots of water, but not with your meals, and do 30 minutes of activity a day. Now, a lot of people say, I just get sick and tired of eating protein. Okay. Then eat 2 bites of protein and then 1 bite of a complex carb, like some soft-cooked broccoli. Or, and then just keep on that rotation. 2 bites of protein, 1 bite of something else. 2 bites of protein, 1 bite of something else. Maybe a whole grain, but so that you get some diversity in there. But go back to the way we teach you to eat, which is the 3 meals a day without drinking. It's not a competitive sport. I like that saying. It's a life-saving journey, truly. Measure your worth by something other than that scale and develop strategies to deal with the everyday world. Develop new ways to cope with stress and change. And that may be finding a group of people that support you. That's why we have support groups, so that you can come here and feel supported and talk about any issues that you have. And above all, kindness matters, especially to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. No one does it 100% correctly every day, with the possible exception of Carol, who is meticulous. But don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up if you don't. You know, just the goal isn't to be perfect; it's to be better. You know, it's not. This isn't something you're getting graded on. This is simply a tool to help you relearn how to use your tool so you can get to your goal weight and keep it there. I obviously have talked to thousands of patients in the 8 years I've been here, and the one thing that I see in common with people who are successful long term is that they have kind of a stop point. They weigh themselves, and as soon as they're 5 pounds up, they kick in and get that 5 pounds off. They focus on that, and they don't let it go. If they start feeling their clothes are getting a little tight, they don't ignore that. They use that as a way to say, okay, I'm up 5 pounds, I need to get that back off. Because the next thing you know, you're going to be up 30 pounds if you ignore it. And so keep track of your weight, but don't use that as the only way you measure your success. You're successful when you lose any weight. I mean, we all know how hard it is to do, so don't beat yourself up at all. If you do this and it doesn't work for you, then go back to what you're normally doing and try it again. You know, try it again maybe a month or two later, because you can do this as often as you want. You don't want to do it 2 times right in a row, but see if this doesn't help you to relearn that sensation that your tool is working and when you're satisfied, rather than feeling a lot of restriction. Okay? Anybody have questions about it? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Alrighty. So, I did have one more slide here. These are the tips that Kay Bailey always talks about. She has her rules, her rules. The first one is stay away from slider foods. Those are those things like snack crackers and pretzels and cookies and white bread, because those just restart your carb craving. I was doing really good not eating any sugar, and then I ate a piece of chocolate. My daughter-in-law brought over these little Nutella brownies. And I thought, oh, those look really good, I'm just gonna have one of those. And it was like, it kicked in. The minute I finished that, I wanted another one. And I thought, God, that is it's powerful. It really, you eat those carbs, you're gonna want more carbs. So start by getting rid of those little things that are so easy to sit there and snack. If you're gonna snack on something, snack on some almonds, or a cheese stick, or something that's got some nutrition in it, because those have no nutrition. Those are just gonna convert to sugar right there in your body. And then follow the 4 rules. Eat protein first, drink plenty of water, no snacking of non-nutritional food, and get at least 30 minutes of activity. Those are your 4 rules. If you will really put those on your fridge and follow those every day, you will be successful. Okay? Alrighty. Then why don't we get into some groups? Do we have enough for 2 groups?